All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Department of Educational Psychology and Learning Systems information session for COE Preview. We're excited to have you with us today to learn more about all of our graduate programs in EPLS. And it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Alicia Rorick, the Associate Chair for the Department of Ed Psych and Learning Systems.
Welcome and good morning, everybody. Today, we're going to have all of our different programs talking about the details of how to get into the programs, how their programs work, answer any questions you have. We have a timeline here that you see. We've got 15-minute slots for each group. I'm going to start us off just giving an overview of our department. And then I'm going to talk about my learning and cognition program. And then up at 9:30 will be instructional systems and learning technology, followed by our combined counseling, psych and school psych, then career counseling, mental health counseling, and school counseling. Finally, school psych measurement stats and sports psychology will round us out today. So after the general introduction, if you're interested in a specific program, you might pop in and out to make sure you catch those. But do feel free to put any questions you have in the chat as we go along. See, Jenny, I think, yeah, there we go. Thank you. Okay, so we've got a rather large department with a lot of really interesting folks doing really great work in different areas. So this picture gives an outline of the different programs that we have. So you see over on the left, the counseling and human systems involves the different degrees that prepare you to work as a professional in counseling and school psychology related fields with the joint MS specialist degrees. And then we've got our PhD, combined PhD in counseling and school psychology is another program. Then we have the educational psychology program, which includes both learning and cognition and sports psychology. And then we have measurement and statistics. And then finally, our instructional systems program, which you see here has, sorry, my dog. Come on, Aaron. Both an MS PhD program and a new EdD program. Sorry, my son's going off to school. Okay. Just as a little overview, we also have a program that we're affiliated with, and a number of the faculty here today are affiliated with, which is called Purpose. I'm one of the co-directors of this program. It's a fellowship. It's called Partners United for Research Pathways Oriented to Social Justice and Education. And we provide a year-long training program. It starts in January, ends in December, where we train for you guys, it would be relevant for beginning master's students. So we train you to do research in a culturally relevant way. We help you to learn how to build partnerships with folks in the community doing work that addresses social justice issues. There's a nice stipend and money to help you with research and travel. And in the end, you get end up with assistants preparing materials to apply to graduate programs, because the idea is to help diversify those getting doctorates in education-related fields. But as well, you'll get an opportunity to share the research you've been conducting in a conference. So if you're interested in that program, please do take a look at the link right here at the bottom. There's an application. I believe it's open through, what day is it today? We might just be able to take a couple applications if you get them in like right now, because right now is about when we're trying to make decisions. Bye, Erin. Thanks for putting that link in there, Jenny. Okay, so I guess we're a little bit ahead of time, but so if you've got questions about the department in general, or about any of these programs that I'm talking about, please do let me know. So I'll just pause and do a little wait time here and see if anybody has any questions. No questions? Any questions about the Purpose program? No? Okay. Remember, just feel free to let us know if you have questions. Okay, so this is a relatively new certificate. I'm coordinating this certificate in college teaching. We're really excited about this. It is a 4-class series that supports you in learning about theory and practice and helps you to actually develop a course, prepares you to with feedback on your practice teaching so that you'll be well prepared to teach college classes. So you know, we've got folks in this from all over the university as well as outside the university. A lot of graduate students don't have the opportunity to get pedagogy courses or opportunities to practice teaching before they go out there in the field, right? So this is a really great opportunity. You can apply for this as a non-degree seeking student, or if you're in any other degree program. As with all of our certificates, we've got a number of certificates in our department you'll hear about today. There's a really quick, easy application process for any of these. And you just fill out a little quick survey. And then what you need to make sure you do is apply for these before you've completed 2 classes in them, because you have to have applied before you complete 2 classes. And then after you've completed the 4 classes, you can apply to get the certificate. Any questions about certificates or this one in particular? I don't know, I guess I should have put the link up here for the, Jenny, are you able to find the link to the certificate page? You could pop that in the chat. No questions? Certificate, just so you know, certificate classes that count towards a certificate, I can't speak. Courses that count towards a certificate also can be counted towards your degree program. So there can be overlap there. Thank you, Jenny. Yeah, so all of our wonderful certificates in the whole college are listed there. And like I was saying, about 5 or 6 of them are in our own department. If we don't have any questions, we can go to the next slide. Oh, here's some of those details. So the courses in the college teaching certificate include theories of learning and cognition, a college teaching class, that's the one where you get to design your own course, the classroom assessment class, and then theoretical and practical issues in education. This series of courses can be taken entirely online, which is really convenient. And these are my colleagues here in the Learning and Cognition program. We offer both a master's and a PhD. You can see Dr. Beth Phillips there on the left. She's got a background in clinical psychology that she applies towards reading and preschool children in particular. Dr. Janine Turner over on the right, she focuses on motivation and emotion, particularly with college learners, adult learners, has been working with our engineering program and also co-directs Purpose with me. I'm our program coordinator. My research focuses on effective teaching and culturally relevant pedagogy. We're also hiring a new faculty member this year to start next year, so we're really excited about that. So for our programs, we're ranked in as one of the top 25 EdPsych programs. We're really excited about that in the nation. And we try to help train folks interested in both going into academia, but also folks working as professionals to help provide information about cognition, learning, and developmental theories. And we have folks in our program who come from education, psychology, business, philosophy. We've had pretty much every major you can think of folks who have joined our program. And then they go off to work in nonprofits, government agencies, universities, schools. So it's a really versatile program, and we help to shape it to your interests. So for the, the master's program, there's 2 different tracks for that. The thesis track is geared more for students who would like to potentially do a PhD because it gives you a hands-on research opportunity. It is a few more credits to complete the thesis and usually takes about 3 years to complete, but that depends on what kind of study you do. The thesis track is only available face-to-face, but the coursework track for the master's is can be done entirely online, although we do have some students who complete it face-to-face or in a hybrid manner. And that one usually takes less than 2 years to complete because you're not doing the research component. However, you can take any of the same classes and you'll get the same background in understanding research and theory and how to apply it to practical educational contexts. So for our PhD program, this is really heavily research oriented. We're preparing folks to learn about qualitative and quantitative methodologies in conducting research. As I mentioned before, they don't just become faculty members, but they go off to work in different government agencies, think tanks. They become program evaluators for school districts, that sort of thing. And you can see how many credit hours it is here. And I would say it takes about 4 years to complete. It is a face-to-face program. Students, we recommend you be full-time. Yep. Is there a question? I'm always happy to take questions about our program. You can take it part-time, but it just takes you longer to get through, right? But it is a residential program. We'd want you to be around so that we can work with you. In a PhD program, more of it is about the research experiences and the outside of class time experiences rather than just the coursework. So here's our admission criteria. You can see, I think we just recently had approved by the Faculty Senate just this past week that we can take some different language scores besides the TOEFL and some of the regular ones, just because of the pandemic and how hard it has been for folks to be able to get those tests. So the whole university will be accepting some of the different language scores, but these are the GRE scores and the GPAs that we have for our cutoffs. In terms of assistantships, well, first of all, the college does a really great job. They've got a system where they have hundreds of different fellowships that they give away to students each year, where you can apply to all of them all at once with a small application, usually early in the spring. That's for students who've been accepted. They would apply for that. A lot of students end up getting some small scholarships through that. But we also have assistantships, and those are primarily for PhD students and thesis students if we have them available. That's because a lot of them are teaching assistantships, and one has to have a certain number of graduate courses before you're eligible to teach. Thank you. There's that link to the scholarships. It's really great opportunity, so please do check that out. And if you're applying to our programs, we're not doing summer enrollment right now, but we'll do fall and spring enrollment, and fall only for PhD right now, but we've been admitting master's students in the fall and the spring. And over the summer, we determine for our PhD students what assistantships we're able to provide to each of the folks who's interested in coming. So that's our timeline. I'll pause to see if we have any questions before we go on. Are we a little ahead of our schedule there, Jenny? Oh,
yep, just a bit.
So let's see if anybody has questions about our department. I'm happy to answer questions about scholarships, about certificates, about how things work in our areas. No questions? Oh, there, thank you. Okay, so when's the application due for the master's program? So the master's program in learning cognition. Okay, so the the master's program due date for spring was October 15th. And I think if I'm remembering correctly, was the university deadline November 1st. So we're coming right up on the end of being able to apply for spring programs. And that university sort of drop dead deadline when they won't take any more applications. That's for spring. And then that's for fall, right? So there are different deadlines for fall. Priority deadlines in my program are, I think we say December 15th for PhD students, but they are later in spring for master's students. And every one of our programs here will have different deadlines. We also have great web pages for each of our programs that have the details on the admission deadlines at the bottom. So the web pages, you have to make sure you scroll all the way down, because down there you'll see the admissions information. You'll see the curriculum information. It's kind of hidden down there. I don't know, Jenny, if you're able to pop in there, maybe for each program as we do it, we could put up the page for folks for those programs. Any more questions, folks? I just want to make sure we stay sort of on target for our college education certificate overlaps 12 credit hours with Ed Psych Learning Cognition Masters. Do you apply for the certificate as well as the master's program? So what happens is you can be enrolled as a non-degree seeking student in the certificate, or you could be in another program and doing the certificate. And if you apply for the master's, you can then transfer those credits from the certificate and have them count towards your master's degree if you're accepted into the master's program. And almost all of our certificates are set up that way. They include some core basic courses that are related to the academic program that they're embedded within, as a way to have students, if they really love what they're learning in the certificate, they can go on to do the master's. Are the last 3 credit hours online as well? Yes, for the certificate, the whole thing is totally online. 3 of the classes are asynchronous. The college teaching course, because I have some live things you need to do, does tend to have some face-to-face components where you have to be available at certain times in order to complete them. How does the admission process work? So each program will have deadlines, and some of them will do rolling admissions. Some of them do priority deadlines, which means they do a first pass at the applications after the first deadline. And then if they still have seats available, they'll continue to take applications. Some have a hard deadline. So you have to look at each one to see what their deadlines are and their processes. But hopefully, depending on what programs you're interested in, the faculty related to each one will be able to answer your questions for that. You're welcome. Is it ISLT supposed to start at 9:30 there, Jenny?
Yep. Do we have anybody here from ISLT?
I'm happy to just sit here and take questions.
Lisha, do you want to talk about what makes a successful applicant, maybe, in terms of what you guys are looking for?
Yeah, so I can talk about that for my program, but I can talk about that in general. That's something that we do in our purpose program as well. So applications across graduate programs involve a few important components, and we tend to have a holistic look at everything that you submit. So as you can see here for learning cognition, we do have some cutoffs for scores on things, but we do look at that in the context of your goal statement, your letters of recommendation, the kinds of courses you've taken, thinking about what you're interested in and how you fit with our program. So those kinds of things we get from looking at your transcript, looking at your goal statement in particular. That might be one of the most important pieces. So when you're writing your goal statement, you really want to make sure you get others to look at it, make sure it's clear, make sure you're doing your research, looking at our websites, talking to the faculty, asking faculty if you can talk to some of their students. And so really that goal statement is key. And then also your letters of recommendation. So for us, if you're interested in more of the research track, we usually would like to have at least 2 faculty recommendations and one professional recommendation is fine. For the folks who've been out in the field working and coming back to do an online master's with us, 2 professional letters is fine. If you can get a faculty one, that would be great. But we really are looking for your letters to say that you will be, that you're capable of doing a master's degree. So that's what we're looking for there. Let's see, it says, is it possible to apply for a certificate if you are in a master's or PhD program outside of learning cognition? Yes. So that's also part of it, right? It's not just a recruitment tool to get people into our program. It's a way for students in all different kinds of majors to be able to get a quick, look into parts of the different programs. So if you want to prepare to be a college teacher, you can sign up for our certificate in college teaching. And then are learning disabilities covered in your department? Our focus is not on learning disabilities. However, you will learn some about learning disabilities. We were actually talking about that in my college teaching class yesterday. And I know that our school psych folks do cover some things about learning disabilities. However, we do not train you to address learning disabilities directly. I'll let some of our school psych people maybe answer that to contextualize.
We actually, we teach quite a bit about learning disabilities.
Okay.
As the learning disabilities make up about 80% of our assessment and diagnostic caseload. And so we talk about what they are, how to diagnose them, how to provide interventions, how to work within general ed and special ed to bridge for folks who have learning disabilities, developing IEP goals, as well as talking about special accommodations and then how to integrate that for kids who have other special needs or are second language learners. Can I add one other thing about what makes a good applicant for?
Of course, any faculty here can do that. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. So within one of the clinical programs, I will say that we look for 2 other things. So one thing I think is universal across both programs, that's the school psych, MS, EDS, and the doctoral program, is that we love to see that you've been involved in research. So, for you, UROP has been fantastic. In fact, often we will take UROP students. I have 2 right now, but just, preferably it would be some sort of psychological or educational research, but almost anything that shows that you've done research is really helpful. That also gives you a good person to write one of your letters. The other thing, and just as a note, all of the faculty have, at least I'm assuming that's true across the entire department, but in the clinical side of what we do, we all have our own research teams. So if you look at one of the faculty and think, wow, I really get excited by the stuff that she's doing, you don't have to wait to go to grad school and be in the graduate program to be able to ask us about it. I have, like I said, I have 2 UROP students in my research team right now, and I have someone who just graduated with her undergrad, but is not in a program yet. And so, just send an email to the professor that you're interested in, see if they have any room in their research team. And, if nothing else, that just gives you some experience that you can put on your CV. The other thing that we really like in school psych is that you've done anything ever with a child that is not just being K through 12 yourself and graduating from high school. If you've done babysitting or if you've done work out, with preschoolers, or if you've worked at a summer camp, or, really anything that shows that you have any exposure to children. that shows that you really kind of understand what they're like. So, this would be a great opportunity for you to volunteer, or, things like volunteer at a high school or a middle school or an elementary school. They're always looking for folks. Or, one of the youth groups in town, there's a really cool little, down South Monroe, there's a cool little art, youth and art group that does stuff. And so just that is really for us very important. For the school psych, we also like to see if you have any experience working with folks with disabilities. That also looks really positive. And I'm going to say this, for the doctoral program too, you might also want, if you've shown any experience with psychological activities, have you been a volunteer with the suicide hotline, or provided any kind of volunteer work for the homeless shelter or anything like that, make sure that you add that to your CV. And because we really are looking for, have you actually provided any kind of experience or time with both research and practice? I'm now over my minute. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Dr. Kroc. And I appreciate you expanding on, I was thinking a little bit sort of just about special ed, certification, and not about how school psychologists are really key in that learning disabilities support out in the schools. So thank you for that. And also the idea that research is important, and to talk about that in your goal statement, I think that applies to every PhD program, right? And then the target audience and the kinds of other kinds of activities you have would be shaped more towards each program. And so Dr. Kroc shared some of those that were most applicable for school psychology. So I think we have Dr. Brandon here. So I think, and it is, now we're at 9:30. So we can move on to the instructional systems and learning technology. And I will let her take that away. I will be sort of monitoring this along the way. And if people have questions, I will try to jump in if I can. But you can also, I'm sure Jenny will pass them along to me, and I can answer them if I somehow miss it. But I enjoyed talking to you about our awesome department, and you'll get to meet some more of our faculty here. So I hope you have a good day.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. My name is Diana Brandon. I am the program coordinator for the Masters in Instructional Systems and Learning Technologies. And I also teach in the EDD program, and I work with a few of the PhD students in other capacities. We at the ISLT department have 4 different available options: the master's, the EDD, the PhD, and graduate certificates. So the EDD and the PhD are both terminal degrees, and they are a little bit different based on your career path. So the PhD is the career path or the degree path for those of you interested in what we do, becoming research professors, teaching in academia, and for those kinds of positions. The EDD is also a research degree. It also has a dissertation, but it is focused on research and practice. So our EDD is fully online, and it is situated for students who are very interested in doing research, but in doing it in a practice environment. So in schools, in businesses, and we have lots of different backgrounds in our EDD program. Whereas the PhD is focused on working in academic environments in higher ed. The masters, we have students who are very interested in applying their skills in practice. We have a wide range of students in that program, from people who are fresh out of undergrad, who are graduating in May, and they roll into our master's program. And then we also have people who already have doctorates who are coming back for an additional skill set who are in this master's program. So there's no such thing as a typical ISLT student. And then we have graduate certificates. Some of our master's students will also pursue a graduate certificate at the same time. And we also have graduate certificate students who are in other programs. I noticed that it was put into the chat a few minutes ago that you can apply for certificates if you're not necessarily pursuing a degree in the program, and that is true for ISLT. Most of our ISLT students in the master's will pursue either the human performance technology, which is really focused on organizational improvement, or the online teaching and learning, which is more focused on online teaching and learning. And then the instructional design and technology is kind of a conglomeration or an overview of both of those different fields. And most of the people who are not in a degree program will pursue that. So with that, the admission requirements for these vary a little bit. For the certificate, it only requires a bachelor's degree. For the master's, we request a 3.0 GPA in the last 2 years of your undergrad. The GRE is currently waived for the program. We also have recommendations, and we request a personal statement as well, and your CV. It's a 36 credit hour program. So if you're pursuing it full time, and that's 4 classes per term, spring, summer, fall, you finish in a year. Most of our students will pursue 2 classes per term, and they will finish in 2 years. And then we also have students who have very demanding career and home lives, and they pursue 1 course per term, and they finish in 4. So it's very, very flexible and very very much works with your schedule, and it's very individualized so that you're able to do what makes the most sense for you. The EDD is a 3-year program that requires a 3.2 GPA, and it does require a GRE score, as does the PhD. Those admission requirements are very similar. The PhD has a little bit more of an emphasis on the quantitative portion of the GRE. I do, however, want you to realize that our students are much more than a test score. We do have students who do not fit perfectly with these criteria due to special circumstances, and we read everything that comes through the application. So don't let this deter you. If your GPA is not exactly where it should be, or if your test scores are not exactly where they should be, but there are other parts of your application that really show that you're a strong candidate, that does not completely eliminate you from the prospect. So don't let these kind of scare you off. And that is something that will come through in the application process. To introduce you a bit to our full-time faculty, we have Dr. Vanessa Denon, who's the EDD program coordinator, Dr. Jim Klein, who is our department chair, Dr. Feng Feng Ke, who is the PhD coordinator, Dr. Alan Zhang, who is our certificate coordinator, and as I said, I'm the master's coordinator, and Brett Stout-Willett is our first-year faculty member who comes to us from Michigan State. And then we are also in the process of hiring an additional faculty member. We are very much an ISLT family. We are very involved with each other. We collaborate quite frequently. So if you have areas of interest that overlap, you are likely to work with multiple faculty members. And we also are very equally distributed in the teaching load. So if you're in any particular program, you're not going to be with the EDD faculty. So we all teach EDD and PhD and master's courses for the most part. So you really get to interact with the entire faculty, which is nice because we all have very different backgrounds. What makes ISLT special is, without a doubt, we are a very tight-knit group. We have a #1 ranking with US News and World Report. The alumni network that we have is the strongest at the program level I have ever seen. This is a picture pre-COVID of our annual alumni conference, where we bring in people from industry and public service and K-12 and higher ed, and all of the different areas where we have alumni. We have a mentoring program, and everyone gets together with the current students. So it's a very, very strong, useful, and positive network. The faculty from ISLT have authored 3 of the top 5 textbooks in the field. We have very interactive classes. It's not just read the book and write a discussion post for our online programs. There are projects, there are activities, there are collaborations, there are different technologies that are integrated into the courses. It's a very dynamic learning environment. We have a low student to instructor ratio, and we have an active student association, the ISSA, that allows PhD, EDD, and master's students to work together and support each other as they're pursuing their interests. As you, if you have any questions, you're welcome to reach out to us through our various social media channels. We have Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and a blog. For application information, you can contact Mary Kate McKee, or if you have any specific questions, I am happy to answer them either in chat, or if you want to contact me directly, I'll put my email in the chat as well. I know that's a whole lot of information thrown at you all at once, but we are always happy to answer questions.
Okay, we got about 5 minutes before the next program session. If anybody has questions about ISLT, don't be shy.
So I can go through a couple of the frequently asked questions that we get from applicants while I'm here. So for the master's program in particular and the EDD program, those are both sort of, for the online programs, they are sort of designed for people who are currently working. It is possible. It is something that we work on. The master's is very flexible in that you can kind of choose how many courses you take and when. For the online master's, classes are offered for the most part at least 2 terms out of the 3, so spring, summer, and fall. Electives are a little bit trickier. They are not offered as consistently. Every elective we have is offered at least once every 2 years. So in a 2-year span, you can get any elective. The core classes are offered regularly. I work very closely with each master's student. I'm the academic advisor for the master's students. And we will have, I have a one-on-one session with every student to talk about their career goals and their trajectories and the classes they want to take and the classes that would make sense for them given those career goals. And we actually set up a plan to make sure you can get the classes that you need. So it's a little bit of a jigsaw puzzle, but we work it through to make sure that everybody gets what they need. The EDD cohort is a cohorted program. So all of your classes are established for you for the most part, and then you have a little bit of choice in electives. That is 3 courses per term. One of those courses tends to be a seminar. But those courses are designed to prep you for your dissertation work so that you are prepared and ready to go. In fact, our EDD cohort number 1, our very first cohort, is finishing up in May. And so we are getting ready to, they are all working on their dissertations right now. The PhD program is a little bit unique, and because everybody is so very specialized, we work together with, you'll work with your PhD advisor to select the courses that make the most sense for you. Or it's great to see some of our alumni in the chat. Thank you. We think we're a pretty awesome program too. And we love reconnecting with our alumni. So it's nice to see you here today. Anybody else have questions? Okay, well, thank you very much. I think I am right about at time, if I'm not mistaken. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Mary Kate, whose information is here. She helps with all the applications. Or you can also reach out to me directly if you have any questions as well. My email's in the chat. And you can also find me on the ISLT website as well.
All righty. Thank you, Dr. Brandon. Next up, we have Dr. Laura Reed-Marks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Marks, and I'm an assistant professor of counseling psychology in our combined PhD program. Our program is the only combined program in Florida. Students can choose a concentration in either counseling psychology or school psychology. Students are trained to either enter practice or academia. Practice positions that students end up in are very diverse. Of course, they can end up in schools as a school psychologist. They can end up as psychologists working in a VA hospital, college counseling center, private practice. And so our degree is very, very flexible for students. The program is 4 to 7 years. You can enter with either a bachelor's degree or a master's degree. And that includes, so if you enter as a master's student and you've taken all the prereqs that we have, which are listed on the website, it will take you 3 years of coursework plus a year-long internship. The internship is a full-time internship. You interview all over the country and you get matched at a site which you may have to move to work at for a year. It's a paid internship. We value social justice and diversity highly. We have diversity town halls every semester. We have a diversity committee and they they lead the town halls, but they also lead on invite speakers for us to have diversity related events each semester. Students in our department are in our program, are funded by the department, the college, and different places on campus. And what happens here is students get a stipend and they also get a tuition waiver. Although they cannot be guaranteed that a student will get an assistantship, our students have had great success in attaining assistantships. There are also fellowships and scholarships available. I believe a link was posted earlier on for more information on fellowships and scholarships and how to apply for those. I suggest you you take a look at that link for the application process for those. A lot of our students do have scholarships and some of our students have fellowships. So we have multiple research opportunities in our program. Our faculty all have active research labs. We have research focused on bullying and bullying prevention, suicide prevention, addiction, around alcohol specifically, and rehabilitation. I do research looking at racial discrimination, subtle and overt forms and its influence on health outcomes for adults of color. We have faculty that do research on career development. We have a very active relationship with the Career Center on campus, and we partner with them to collect data, and it's actually a really great opportunity. FSU scholars from our department developed a career development theory. And so the Career Center uses that theory. And so it's a unique opportunity to learn about that theory as Dr. Osborne continues that work. We have research on aggression, and our new faculty member who joined us last year also does research on mathematics learning. As a part of the program, you engage in practicum opportunities alongside your coursework. This involves participating as a prac student at our on-site clinic, which is in the Stone Building. And the name of our clinics are the ALEC Clinic and the HSC Clinic. The ALEC Clinic does ADHD focused coaching, and HSC is more of the traditional type of counseling, and we cater to individuals from the community as well as on campus who are interested in counseling. These are supervised experiences. You're supervised by a licensed psychologist. When you get further on in the program, you also do practicum opportunities in the community. This might involve doing a practicum at the Career Center, at FAMU, with a private practitioner. We have a really diverse range of opportunities, and you really should tailor your practicum opportunities to your potential future career. So if you think you're going to be in a college counseling center, you should try to complete a college counseling practicum at one point throughout the program. I think I spoke about career opportunities already, but I'll reiterate, students can end up in just a really diverse range of places. I think one of the more popular places tends to be private practice, counseling centers, and VA hospitals. But like I said, students can end up in schools. They can end up in community mental health agencies, hospitals. The sky really is the limit. And of course, as well, academia. So these are our admission requirements here. I will highlight that we do require the GRE to be taken. We really pay attention to the personal statement. And in that, we're looking for that you've identified a faculty member in our program that you want to do research with. We're looking to see if you have any research experience, any experience in a helping role of any kind, for example, a camp counselor or perhaps a crisis line counselor. All of those experiences will give you more of an edge in your application. We do pay a lot of attention to the personal statement. So, you know, make sure that this is free of typos and really articulates well what your goals are and helps us to determine if you're a good fit for the program. We also look a lot at letters of recommendation. So reach out to folks who are familiar with your academic abilities. And, you know, if you completed a research experience, it's not mandatory for entrance. We have a whole range of like levels of different experiences that people have had. Some folks have had no experiences with research before coming in. I think it just helps your application. If you do have research, you are engaged in a research lab, and so you do learn those important research skills, and you do take classes to help you become a stronger researcher. Thanks for that question in the chat. I appreciate it. Next slide. These are our faculty. Dr. Deborah Ebner is our Director of Clinical Training, and she is the one who does research on addiction and rehabilitation. Dr. Osborne is our Co-Director of Training, and she does career development research. Of course, you know who I am, and I do racial discrimination research. Dr. Swan Borbecker, or we call him Dr. SB for short, he does the suicide prevention work. Dr. Casey Dozier has a joint appointment with us in the Career Center, and she tends to supervise a lot of the career prac students, as well as students who might have a teaching assistantship to teach an undergraduate career course. Dr. Lindsay Jenkins, and this needs to be updated, Kathleen, I apologize for that, because Dr. Kathleen Kroc is now our school psychology coordinator. But Dr. Jenkins does research on bullying and bullying prevention. She and I currently have a project in data collection on bystander intervention. She does bystander intervention with bullying, so we thought we'd combine her interests and mine. And right now we're working on the project trying to understand bystander intervention with racial microaggressions. So why do individuals choose to or not to engage in action when they see a racial microaggression occurring? So that's what we're doing together. Dr. Garrett Hall is our new faculty member who works in reading and mathematics education. Dr. Kathleen Kroc does research on aggression, and like I said, she's the new school psychology coordinator. And Dr. Taylor Thompson, she supervises students and runs our ALEC clinic. And so we have a great faculty. I really enjoy working with each and every one of them. I think one of the strengths of our program is our faculty and our research labs, and just the amount of collaboration that actually occurs across faculty. Next slide, is that it?
Yep, we got a couple more minutes before our next program session. If anybody has any questions.
What questions do folks have? No questions. 10 to 14 students usually enroll each fall. Okay, that's a great question. Yes, it is possible. Actually, all my lab meetings are online currently, and I know some of the other faculty are the same. I would just ask you to email me, or you can reach out to any of the faculty. I know that they're more than happy to answer any questions. And, if you're interested in engaging with research with them, you can definitely ask them if they have the space for that in their lab currently. I've included my email address in the chat. other questions folks might have.
Laura, do you want to talk a little bit more about the different research labs that are associated with the program?
Sure. So I do a lot of work with Dr. Jenkins, as I mentioned, but I also do some work with Dr. Osborne. And so that's why I say that several of our faculty do collaborate with each other. And so she does career development research. And so one of the things that we're talking about doing right now is using the undergraduate career development courses to get some more data on career development outcomes and how diversity or social identities, so your identification as a man, woman, a racial minority, or whatever that might be, how might that influence your career development, your choice of major, your choice of career. So that's an example of something Dr. Osborne and I are doing. Dr. Swamber-Becker, like I mentioned, does a lot of research on suicide prevention. I know he's done work on suicide prevention with athletes. And so I know he's collaborated a lot with the sports psychology folks and collecting data with them. I know, and Dr. Crack, do you want to share about your research real quick? I know you're on the call.
Sure, I'm happy to. I have been doing research in stealth assessment, which is using video games to measure psychological constructs. In particular, we've been using video games to measure aggression. So looking to see if, based off of in-game behaviors, if those can be used to predict aggression levels and types, including proactive, which is more bullying behavior, reactive, which is more anger management issues, and microaggressions. So that tends to be that. I have a research team here, as well as we collaborate with another research team out in Las Vegas. And so we all meet as one big unit. I have folks in my research team. I've had folks from, I have a doctoral student in social work right now. Like I said, I had 2 UROP students and a person who's just an undergrad. I actually have a tech guy who is not even a student or looking to go back to becoming a student. I have learning and technology students at UNLV that I work with, which is out in Vegas. I have, of course, school psych students, and you know, really, I've worked with sports psych folks before, so it's folks that are interested in either aggression or stealth assessment work.
Thanks, Kathleen. Any other questions? I know Dr. Dozier does a lot of work with Dr. Osborne as well, because she's in the Career Center. And so they collaborate on a lot of research, collecting data there. Well, I can speak to the Growth Lab. I do have several master's students right now on the Growth Lab from the master's program. So yes, definitely you're welcome to engage. Just email me and we can set up a time to chat. You could reach out to Dr. SB to ask him about the suicide prevention research team. I know that, you know, each faculty has their different approaches to their lab, and but I'm sure he'd be more than happy to talk to you about any potential opportunities there. Yeah, on my lab, I have UROP students, I have some master's students, and I have doc students, and I have a purpose fellow. So. And I think I'm at time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to answer any, and good luck with the process. And as I mentioned, that personal statement is really important. So make sure that you do spend time on that if you plan to apply for our program, and the deadline is December 1st.
All righty, thank you, Dr. Marks. Next, we have counselor education programs and Dr. Eric Hines.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome. Excuse me. Today we're going to talk about 3 of our tracks in counseling, career counseling, clinical mental health counseling, and school counseling. But first, what I would like to do is start by talking about our wonderful faculty, Dr. Xingling Dong. He's an associate professor, and he is concentrated in the clinical mental health counseling track. His research is around mindfulness and counseling. I am Eric Hines. I am the coordinator of the counselor education program in which the 3 tracks are housed. I'm also an associate professor, and my concentration is in school counseling. And I look at Black males and their academic and career outcomes from pre-K all the way into graduate school and in their career. Dr. Tristan Hyatt, she's one of our teaching faculty and also the career clinical coordinator, career counselor, rather, clinical coordinator. And she does a little bit of research, and hers is focused on wellness and health. And Dr. Simone May, she's also our teaching faculty and our clinical coordinator for the clinical mental health counseling program. And she looks at retention and recruitment of students in grad school, as well as underrepresented populations in mental health counseling. And last but not least, Dr. Eun-hee Yoon is our assistant professor in the school counseling program. She looks at LGBT issues in education with a specific focus in school counseling. So as I said earlier, we have 3 tracks in our program in counseling and human systems. Career counseling, which prepares career counselors to work in various settings, which include universities, schools, businesses, even community colleges. And so this track really helps individuals with career educational decision-making, clinical mental health counseling, prepare professional counselors to work with persons on circumstances involved in their mental health. And they work in a variety of settings such as hospitals, community agencies, prisons, and independent practices. And the school counseling program prepares professional school counselors to work in urban and rural school settings with skills in individual, group counseling, cultural competency, and database decision-making. School counseling was actually relaunched back in the fall of 2019. So this is our, I want to say, newest program, but it was actually reborn, and the focus is really an online format. The school counseling program is a part-time program and is geared towards working individuals. And also one of the things we wanted to do too is we noticed that more teachers wanted to transition out of the classroom but still stay in education. And so that was one of the reasons why we transformed the school counseling program. The career counseling program and the clinical mental health program are both full-time, in-person, traditional classroom programs. And Tanisha Toussaint, who's our wonderful academic program specialist, has put all 3 links for all 3 of the tracks in the chat if you want to explore more information outside of what we talk about today in the program. So career counseling is 61 credit hours. As I said earlier, it's full-time and it's 5 semesters. So it's basically 2 academic years in the summer. Our application deadline for that program is April 1st. 3 semesters of clinical experience in the college, school, or community setting. What that is, it's a practicum, which is really a pre-intern experience, if I could say that, where you're starting to get some exposure to clinical work around the career counseling field. And then you do a year-long internship, which is broken up into 2 semesters in the setting of your choice. The internship requires more hours, and it's usually 600 hours, rather, let me say that. The practicum is 100 hours. So we make sure that you are not only prepared to work with individuals in these clinical settings, but are prepared for your career. It is a CACREP accredited program. The short end of the story, for the sake of time, is that CACREP is really our accrediting body that lets individuals know that all of our counseling programs and all of our faculty have had rigorous training, rigorous development in the curriculum, as well as abiding by the latest and innovative counseling trends and standards that are available to students and faculty. You also, so the unique part about all three of our programs, if I could say that, is that you have the opportunity to be an eligible or eligible for licensure as a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. So both the career counseling and the licensed mental health counseling program actually have the additional courses built into it so that you can apply for licensure. The school counseling, we have students who are interested in licensure, and what we have done is ensure that they have those the knowledge of those two additional courses that they would need to take to be eligible. So there are career and graduate assistantships, career scholarships and graduate assistantships available for career counseling students. And most of our students who do get an assistantship, they work in our world-renowned career center. And so they're getting the best training, not only in their work, but also when we talk about their clinical experiences.
I'm sitting in on something with the College of Education for Florida State, learning about different opportunities for grad school.
Oh, okay.
Are you okay with that? Can I call you about 11 or so?
Okay, I think okay, there we go. All right. Can you move it back to career for me just 1 second, Jenny? Thank you. So again, we make sure that you're placed in a setting of your choice. Right now, we have students working in a career center. We have students who actually work in community settings, doing career counseling. We also have students working in college settings as well. The clinical mental health counseling program is 1 credit less than the career counseling program. Is 60 credit hours, 5 consecutive semesters, and the application deadline is coming up in a month. So that's December 1st. It is probably the most popular out of all 3 of our programs, and it is very competitive too, given the number of applications that we received. So far, we've received around 120 applications, maybe a little more than that. So we always see an increase in this track, and part of it is that now that we see what is going on in current world events, clinical mental health counselors are needed more than ever, and we see students that are very interested in this field. It is 3 semesters, again, a clinical experience in diverse community settings and clinical settings. So you can be in a prison, you can be in a college, you can also be in a community setting. Just like our career counseling program, it is a combined master's and specialist program. It is also CACREP accredited, and we have a few assistantships that may be available. We don't have a lot for this program. So it is, again, what we try to do is we try to help students find financial aid opportunities if they need it. The school counseling program is a 60 credit hour program. It's fully online, 8 consecutive semesters, and our admissions deadline is March 1st. We usually get a lot of applications for this program as well. It is a combined master's and EDS program, and you have 2 clinical experiential components, which again is the equivalent of 3 semesters of clinical experiences. And so what's different about this program is that you can do your internship in 1 full semester, which is 600 hours, or you could do it over 2 semesters, which is a whole year, which still is the equivalent of 600 hours, but 300 hours a semester. We're working on getting CACREP accreditation, but we have all the courses and the curriculum that mirrors a K-CREP accredited program now. It is approved by the state of Florida Educator Prep Program. So if you wanted to work in the state of Florida, you will be able to get a job even outside of the state of Florida. One of the things that I like about our program, but also the Department of Education, is that the standards are so rigorous that other states look to us to hire our students because of the rigor of what our students have to learn and what they have to be able to demonstrate as a result of graduating from the program. So there is significant demand for school counselors in K-12 across the country. We've seen not only COVID-19, but also the impact of racial issues that play a role with our students, but also mental health issues that are also impacting our student academic achievement and success. All right, so for all three of our tracks, you need a bachelor's degree with at least a minimum of a 3.0. Again, it is competitive, so if we are looking at a student that doesn't have a 3.0, we will look at work experience. We also look at what the personal statement says in order to gauge their interest and their motivation in completing their program. And we also look at circumstances. We know that things happen in the past, and the past does not necessarily reflect who the current person you are or who you will be in the future. Our GRE test scores, target scores, the variable is 145 or above, or writing is 3.5 or above. But as you heard earlier, we have waived GRE test scores for the fall 2022 academic year. Our language proficiency test scores, TOEFL is 550, the target scores, excuse me, the internet-based is 80, the IELTS is 6.5, and the MELAB is 7.7. As Dr. Rorick stated earlier, our graduate school just permitted several other language proficiency exams to be permitted as one of the requirements to look at for admissions. You also need 3 letters of recommendation, a resume, and transcripts. And what we also do with our counselor admissions is that not only do we screen and evaluate your application on a rubric, so we use a rubric, we also invite students to come in and interview. This year we're doing it virtually because of COVID-19, of course. And we evaluate based on the interviews if this student is a great candidate for any of the tracks. And so we, it's one thing to look at your application, it's another thing to meet you. And sometimes the application does not tell the entire story of the student. So we want to ensure, or the applicant, we want to ensure that we capture a well-rounded picture or a holistic, or use a holistic approach to selecting the best candidates for the program. So our programs only do a fall cohort entrance model. I believe Tanisha and Jenny put that in the chat, and we only do admissions once a year. So with that being said, we have 2 minutes left. I just want to make sure that any questions are being answered. Okay. I'll start with Tariq. Which campus will CMHT be taught in? So all of our tracks are taught, for the exception of school counseling, are taught at the Tallahassee, the main campus in the Stone building, or multiple buildings on our main campus here in Tallahassee. Can you speak to the advantage of becoming a one-on-one counselor through the counseling mental health program versus going through the social work program? Okay. I can't really speak to the curriculum for social work, but I know with the clinical mental health counseling program, what you're also being trained on in here is the various approaches that counselors use in multiple settings. So you could actually be a clinical mental health counselor and work in a prison. You can actually be a clinical mental health counselor and work in a school. You can actually work in a college. So for clinical mental health counseling, I believe in my experience, we probably have more of a broader range and a broader focus with helping individuals as opposed to being a social worker. So they still learn the same counseling skills, but they're more focused in a narrow area than clinical mental health counselor. Do we have any more questions? I think I used all my time here. If you do have, I'll thank you, Tanisha. So for the state of Florida, we usually have several exams that you must take to be a certified school counselor. And the general knowledge test used to be a test that we would have as an admissions or an entryway into the program, and that you would have to take in order to graduate. That has been eliminated by state law. So what you would have to take is just a professional exam for the state of Florida, as well as the subject area exam, which is called guidance and counseling. Is there any deadline for applying for scholarships? So we don't have any specific scholarships, but we do have the college education. Jenny just put it in there. And then what I would encourage you to do is look at the graduate school website. We do have, I take that back, we do have a scholarship program in our department, but we usually nominate students for those different types of scholarships. So we would have a conversation about that rather than that being an open application process. You're welcome. And that is it. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you, Dr. Hines. Up next is our school psychology program with Dr. Kathleen Croft.
Well, howdy, everybody. First off, school psychology is amazing. We have a very low turnover. Almost nobody who goes in the field leaves the field. We're the second highest paid field of psychology. So that's nice. There's the counseling, clinical, school, and IO, and only IO makes more than us. So that's kind of a nice little bonus. About 15,000 positions right now across the country are going unfilled because we don't have enough graduates. So there's a huge shortage. 100% of our students get employed right after they graduate, or they go into a doctoral program, either way, and they stay there. We really love what we do. So here's a list of stuff here for what you want to know about school psych, but I tend to give this as my description of what it means to be a school psychologist. We're a bridge. We're a bridge between special ed and general ed. We work with, so a kid is having a problem, and we work with teachers and parents to help set up interventions, figure out what's wrong, try and help them within the general education program. And then if that is not, doesn't work, then we conduct assessments to see if they have a disability. And if they do, then we work with special ed to set up special education services for them and determine, again, interventions and services and curriculum that would be appropriate for that child with those needs. And so throughout that, we provide services in mental health, we provide services in academics. You know, we work with kids and look at disabilities, like learning disabilities is probably our #1 category, but we do autism, ADHD, we do intellectual disabilities, we do, social, emotional, behavioral problems, anxiety, depression, that kind of stuff. So we train our students on assessment, consultation, and diagnostics, but we also train them on counseling and just general issues with psychopathology and development. So our students, it is a 3-year program. The first year is mostly coursework, just generic coursework, on the stuff I just talked about. And in the spring, the first year, you do go and do a school-based practicum. So you get a chance to be out in schools from the very first year, which is really, really cool. And then, so it's one full year, including the summers of coursework. And then your second year, you do one practicum in the fall, and then the next practicum in the spring. And both of those are school-based practicum. And you're out in the schools and you're providing mental health services, you're providing consultation, you're providing all kinds of assessments, you're providing all these different things, interventions for kids. And then in the spring, you actually do two practicum, one of which is in a school-based, normal school-based practicum, but the other is a counseling practicum, so that you get a chance to use and develop the skills that you've been taught regarding counseling. So in the summer, that summer after your second year, you actually don't have any coursework. Then you start your third year, and your third year is internship, where you find an internship, and they could be anywhere within the United States. If you're interested in working outside the United States, the only real option for that is DoD schools, Department of Defense schools. But you do have to work with someone who is a school psychologist. That is a 1,200 hour, usually takes 2 semesters long internship. For most of our students, it's paid. Most of the times, the districts that are hiring, which is all the districts, will take our students in as interns, pay them, and then hire them right out of their internship. The internship year has traditionally not been, the students have had their fees and tuitions waived that year. And so we can't, from year to year, this decision is remade based off of our shortage status, but I don't see that shortage going away anytime real soon. And so there's that. So that's information about the program, what it looks like. We are NASP accredited. NASP is National Association of School Psychologists. And their website gives you all kinds of cool information about what we do and who we are. You know, what we do is, you know, we save the world. And who we are is awesome. I would never want to do anything other than my field. So I'm very happy in it. And I think I'm ready for the next slide. So how do you get into a school psychology program? We look at, you know, the numeric stuff, the quantitative stuff, you know, your GPA, GRE scores when they're required. We also look at the holistic stuff, you know, your letters of recommendation. Who is providing these letters? What do they say? That personal statement, we consider it both on what's in it. Like, I want to know that you know what a school psychologist is, what we do. And so you probably want to look at the National Association of School Psychologists website, as well as our FSU website, to get additional information on what the field is. And make sure that you discuss in your personal statement that your goals are those that are goals that are related to what school psychologists do. The other thing we use the personal statement for is just to know that you can write. So make sure it's well written, that it's professional, that it looks great. And so that is part of it. And I already mentioned earlier that really we want to see, if we're looking for personal experiences, their experiences with children or mental health or individuals with disabilities. We matriculate 12 students each year. That's it. We can't take more, and we try not to take less. There are some assistantships available, but mostly those are in the second year. So a lot of our first year students do go unfunded. That's not to say that there aren't funds available. We do usually have a few that find funds, but our second year students, we tend to have, I mean, more than half of them tend to get funding in the second year. And then by the third year, like I mentioned earlier, during your internship, those are almost always funded, and the tuition and fees have historically been waived. All right, anything else? All right, so it's the three of us. So you can see these three folks you have seen before. They were listed in the doctoral faculty. I no longer take doctoral students because of my role as the program coordinator, but you know, I'm happy to work and provide guidance in the doctoral program as asked for. So the research we kind of talked about that, oh no, go back please. That Dr. Jenkins does research in bullying. I do research in stealth assessment and aggression. And Dr. Hall does research in academics, particularly focused on math. Please do feel free to reach out to any of us for research information. Why did I get muted? I hear the baby in the background, but it's not me. I'm long past that period of my life. My baby is now 16. Let's see. So please feel free to contact us. I'll put the link to my research team if you have interest and want to talk about that. And but so if you're interested in the school psych track of the doctoral program, Dr. Jenkins and Dr. Hall are the folks that you're going to really want to take a look at in terms of your applications, and provide information about who you want to work with. For the EDS track, we're all working with you, and so every one of us works with every one of our students. So it's less important that you write in your letter that you want to work with X or Y person. Instead, it's just we really want to know that you know what school psychology is, and that you can make a really good statement or story about why these things about school psychology really match you. All right, I'm ready to keep going. Jenny? All right, there we go. Is that it? I guess maybe all of our slides. So my questions for you guys at this point is, do you have any questions? Let me talk for a second though about our students. Our students, our program is in person at the FSU main campus. It is set, we're a cohort, so you cannot take it part-time. You're expected to take all of the classes in the sequence that they're provided. Our classes are offered in such a way that if you miss a class, you have to wait it out a year to get that class again. So we really do encourage all students to take them in sequence as they go. Our students are very, very involved. Our student association, they constantly have events. They all know each other. If I tell one student something, the rest of the students all know it within 5 minutes. They are a tight, cohesive group. We try every year, the students will go to the Florida Association of School Psychologists conference. This year it's virtual and it's next week. You're welcome to take a look and go and attend if you want to see more about what school psychologists are. I mean, you have to pay for the conference, but you would have a student rate. And this is a great time to do it because next year it'll be in person again, and hopefully it'll be in person again. And that's always a great opportunity to get a chance to tour the state of Florida and learn more about the different places that my students are coming from. And there is a National Association conference. It meets pretty much like this year it's meeting in Boston, and that's in February. So students are it's encouraged to go, but we don't push it as much as we do the Florida conference. At the Florida conference, one of the things that happens for our second year students is that is where they get introduced to districts that are wanting them. And to be fair, that's every district. I get phone calls and emails, several a week, saying, please, 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 we need school psychologists. And I am, I think I had that conversation 3 times already this week. And the folks that work out in the districts, they know that we create really amazing colleagues and school psychologists. So our students tend to get the first placement picks of any internship or job for that matter, anywhere throughout the country. All right, so now I'm going to see if there are any other questions. All right, so is this a master's degree to prepare you? It's not. So the master's and EDS thing is maybe a little confusing. You don't get a master's degree and then get an EDS. What happens is that when you graduate and walk across the stage, you in essence get 2 degrees, a master's and an EDS. So it is a 3-year program. So it is designed to work only in the schools as a nationwide program. And the state of Florida has a really strange little set of policies that is different than almost any other state, which is an EDS level school psychologist can open private practice. They can become a licensed school psychologist through the Board of Psych Examiners. as well as a certified school psychologist for the Board of Education. That license as a licensed school psychologist does not necessarily transfer after if you leave the state of Florida, but it is something that lets you do that. We are not counselors. So there's a difference between school counselors and school psychologists. I see your question. We do provide counseling services. The big issue that I really want to emphasize is that with school psychs, we tend to work a lot with kids that have really involved issues. We don't tend to work with, kids that are having milder problems. And we do provide counseling services, but even then they tend to be with kids that have really significant problems. So that is the counseling. So counselors and psychologists really are considered two different groups by their licensing and accreditation bodies. Looking to see if there are any other questions. And if I haven't said it, it's a fantastic field. You can see how happy we all are. My face in this picture makes me look not as happy because I don't like taking pictures, but we're thrilled. We love what we do.
All righty, thank you, Dr. Kroc. As she mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat as we go. Up next is measurement and statistics with Dr. Yanyun Yang.
Hello, it's my turn. My name is Yanyun Yang. Very excited to give a very brief introduction to measurement and statistics program. I'm the coordinator of this program. Our program offers master and PhD degrees. In addition, we have a measurement statistics certificate program. I'm going to introduce the degree program, and Dr. Insupat is supposed to be here. Not sure whether he's here now. He's going to talk about this. Yeah. Oh, good. Thank you. Talk about the certificate program. Our master program provides both theoretical and practical backgrounds in the domain, but we emphasize on building fundamental skills in educational measurement theory and statistical analysis. Some of our master students are dual enrolled in PhD program in other areas, such as instructional systems and learning technologies, learning and cognition, and School of Teacher Ed. The PhD program emphasizes both application and methodological issues in measurement, statistics, and assessment. The bottom of this slide lists some courses that we offer. For example, general linear model application, measurement theory. Our faculty brings a wide range of expertise and works closely with the students. We have 5 faculty members. You may see their photos in the next few pages. Their expertise include evidence-based cognitive diagnostic assessment, meta-analysis, either response theory, structural equation modeling, and longitudinal data analysis. Many of these techniques are widely used in educational and psychological field. Our grads have been quite successful in finding a job. For example, as a professor in universities or as a psychometricians in testing companies or in state Department of Education. Next page, please. Thank you. Admission requirements include at least 3.0 GPA for master degree and at least 3.5 for PhD. At least 50% 50th percentile rank on both verbal and quant in GPA from the previous. Currently, FSU waives GRE requirements for fall 2022 admission for the master program, but not for the PhD. For international applicants, TOEFL score should be at least 80 for the internet-based test or 550 for the paper-based test. In addition, applicants are required to submit letters of recommendation, personal statement, transcripts, and writing sample. The master degree has 2 tracks, the thesis track and the course-based track. degree will require 32 credit hours. Coursework type, coursework track may take about 2 years to complete, but 1 more year may be needed for thesis track. The number of credit hours for PhD program varies because it depends on students' academic background. They should complete all courses required by the program, plus some milestone exams and dissertation. We are able to fund graduate students on a number of graduate assistantships, but give priorities to doctoral students when the funding is limited. Funding opportunities include being a teaching assistant, a statistical consultant who provides service to graduate students or other colleagues to help them on research design, data analysis, and interpretation. Our advanced doctoral students may also have opportunities to work as a psychometrician intern at the Florida Department of Education. Applicants who have a strong profile may be recommended to compete for university and college fellowships. And I saw some information on the chat box about the links to this fellowship. Please, next page. For information regarding program admissions, please contact Mary Kate McGee via the email address provided here. Please also feel free to contact me and any other faculty member in the program if their research interest, research areas sound interesting to you. And the next page list the one on the next again, sorry, the picture with faculty member. Yeah, these are the 5 faculty members in the program. You can find their name and got their email address or from the website, and also you can connect to their CV to see what are their research areas sounds interesting to you. That's all for the degree program, and I will take, over. Insu, please take over.
All right. Next slide, please. Oh, this is the one. Yeah, that's correct. Okay, so my name is Insu Pak, and I am the coordinator for the Measurement and Statistics Certificate Program. And this program, certificate program, is for non-MNS major students and non-degree seeking students who have a bachelor's degree. And the goal is to train those certificate program students in quantitative analysis skills, applied statistical methods in terms of applied statistical methods and educational and psychological measurement. And how to apply, we provided the link. So you can just, click that link, and then you can just complete all your, required specification. Then, your application is done, and then we review, and then we decide whether you can be the MNS certificate students. Next slide, please. Yeah. The basic core of this program regarding the courses is like this. So 3 required courses plus 3 electives. So that makes 19 credit hours. And then if you get B or higher letter grade, then you can basically complete the certificate program. One more information, by the way, is that in 2022 spring, we are launching a new requirement. So these 19 credit hour requirement rule will be changed. So, but if you apply right now in this semester, and the current rule that is shown in the slide will be applied. You can contact me directly, or if you contact Mary Kate, and Mary Kate will forward your message to me. Okay, so that's basically basic information. If you have any further information, further questions, yeah, just let me know. That's it. Oh yeah, these are the pictures of our faculty members again. So again, you can find out us in our website, and then just shoot an email for us. Yeah, if you have any questions.
All right, thank you, Dr. Pack. If anybody has questions about the measurement and statistics, master's, doctoral, or certificate programs, feel free to drop them in the chat. All right, we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but Dr. Foster, if you want to get started on sports psychology, go for it.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. I'm Brian Foster. I am one of 4 faculty members in the sports psychology program here at Florida State. Our program is all about the psychological principles behind performance enhancement, as well as the psychological outcomes of sport participation. Our program offers a blend of both research and applied opportunities. In our program, you'll have the opportunity to learn about the theory and the empirical evidence behind sports psychology, conduct research if you wish, and apply sports psychology principles in practice with athletes out in the field. We're very proud of the blend of research and applied opportunities that we have in our program. Our PhD program is the more research-based program, and our master's program is the more applied program. However, students in both programs often are involved in each component of research and applied work. Our students have opportunities to join research teams, build their research skills, and work in our sports psychology lab. So we have 3 faculty members, Dr. Eklund, Dr. Eccles, and Dr. Wolf, who I'll give you more information on in a couple slides. But they each have their own doctoral students who are studying different research problems in the field. Those PhD students, often their interests align with their major advisor, and generally master students can also participate in those projects to study a lot of very interesting and cool ideas. We have our students work with athletes in a practical sense to help them learn performance enhancing skills. I possess the certified mental performance consultant status through the Association for Applied Sports Psychology. We currently have relationships with 26 teams throughout the university, high school, and club sport community here in Tallahassee. And we have a supervision course where we develop your skills and teach you all the things required to be able to work towards eventually securing CMPC status. I realize I skipped over what our lab is all about. On the second floor of the Stone building, we have a sports psychology laboratory. In that lab, we have many sophisticated performance tools, such as a light board, motion analysis, hardware and software, vision tracking technology, biofeedback technology, and exercise equipment. Our students conduct experiments and studies in there. We sometimes will have classes in there or meetings, and it also serves as a nice student hangout space for all of our students. There are a few courses offered there. I'll mention in a couple slides which faculty members teach which courses. In terms of career opportunities for our students, our PhD program is designed to prepare students for careers in academia and research positions. However, we have had success placing PhD graduates in applied careers as well. At the master's level, our students are generally working towards more applied careers in sports psychology, the military, business, advising, athletic training, strength and conditioning. So a wide variety of different routes they go with that, as well as coming to our master's program with the intent to pursue future study, either a PhD or a PsyD in the field. Go ahead and go to the next slide. So our admission requirements, the GPA for the master's is a minimum of 3.0 and PhD is at least a 3.5. Like my colleagues before me, if you happen to have a GPA that is slightly lower than these standards, that does not automatically disqualify you from consideration. We look at the holistic application, but generally those are the minimum standards that we are looking for. Our GRE is waived for fall 2022 for the master's program, but is still required for the PhD program. For the PhD, as a minimum, we're looking for 50th percentile in quantitative, 50th percentile in verbal, and at least a 3.5 in analytical. For our programs, we request 3 letters of recommendation. Usually we look for at least 2 of those letters to come from faculty members. We ask for a personal statement and transcripts. And one other item which I've neglected to include here is we also ask for a resume or your CV. Our master's program is a 2-year coursework track, 37 total credits. We have created a cohort model where we very clearly outline for you which courses you'll be taking each semester in the program. Courses are either required or we give you a choice of 2. And so you can slightly tailor your program of study to your own interests, but for the most part, we require very specific courses to earn that degree. Our classes generally consist of 10 to 25 students, combination of master's students and PhD students in those classes. You also have the option as a master's student, while we accept every master's student on the coursework track, you can choose to do a thesis if you wish. The process for that is in your first year of study, you can approach a faculty member that you are interested in conducting a thesis with and express your interest. We will ask you to write what we call a synopsis, which is kind of a 6 to 8 page literature review and list of methodology that you would intend to use for your study. If we believe that you are a solid candidate to conduct the thesis, you will then submit a change of program form over to the thesis track and then complete those requirements in addition to the coursework. Reason that students would conduct a thesis is because they plan on pursuing further study after their master's. We do want you to know that in general, while students who pursue the thesis track tend to take 2.5 or 3 years to graduate with their master's, it is possible to graduate in 2, but it generally takes a little bit longer. Our PhD program is less structured. It is 77 credits to complete. While there are certain courses that we outline as required, you are to work with your major advisor to construct a program of study that works specifically for you. The coursework will be tailored to your particular interests as well as your advisor's goal for you for your time in the program. In terms of contact information, there is a link there for frequently asked questions to our program. I see that Jenny has just included a link in the chat. I am the program contact and my email is listed there. If you have any specific questions pertaining to admissions, Jennifer Walsh will be happy to answer those for you, and her contact information is also listed there. You can go to the next slide. One more thing here before faculty members in terms of what we're looking for. Thank you everyone back. In terms of master's applications, we like to see that you have some form of research experience as well as some form of applied experience. And we have a loose definition for what would be research or applied experience. But if you can get some work, either an undergraduate thesis or help a faculty member with a project that they're working on, just something to show us that you've done some academic work in your undergrad beyond just coursework, as well as some kind of applied experience. Perhaps you've had an opportunity to shadow a sports psychology professional in the field. Maybe you've had some coaching experience, something that shows that you've directly worked with athletes. We generally like to see as well. In your personal statement, we like to see that you have a coherent vision of how our program fits into your future performance, your future career goals. Can you explain why our particular program will help you get to where you want to go? We also like to see in your letter that you can understand what the field of sports psychology is, what are the requirements for earning certifications in the field, and just general knowledge behind what sports psychology is and what individuals in the field do. For that particular program, we're a very competitive program at both the master's and the PhD level. At the master's level, we generally receive more than 160 applications per year, and we generally accept around 25 students. If you're interested in applying to the PhD program, we recommend that you reach out directly to the specific faculty member that you are interested in working with prior to submitting your application. Generally, we are a fairly traditional model where your interests should align with some of the research interests of the faculty member. But again, if you're not sure, we encourage you to reach out. Our faculty members are will be open to working with individuals whose interests don't directly align with theirs, but certainly they'll prioritize those students who do. Funding opportunities for our PhD students are not guaranteed. However, we've had a strong track record in the past few years of placing our students into teaching assistantships, research assistantships, as well as assistantships spread around the campus to ensure they get some form of funding for their education. Our PhD program generally receives around 60 applicants per year, and we accept 3 to 6 students on an annual basis. You can go to the next slide now, please. We have 4 faculty members in our program. Dr. David Eccles is our program director, and he is responsible for overseeing the PhD program. He currently teaches classes in enhancing human functioning as well as motor learning. His research interests include coordination of teams and groups, and he's currently particularly interested in studying the psychology of rest. Dr. Robert Eklund is a professor in our program and also serves as the Associate Dean of Faculty Development. He currently teaches courses in stress and performance, as well as the self in sports psychology. His research interests are extensive, but some of them include psychology of injury, burnout, and measurement in sports psychology. I am here in more of a teaching capacity than my colleagues, so I teach more classes and have a less research requirement. The classes that I teach include psychology of injury, helping relationships, ethics in sports psychology, culture and diversity in sports psychology, social bases, and I also oversee all of our student applied internships that they conduct. My research interests include student athlete mental health, as well as international student athlete experiences. And Dr. Svenja Wolf teaches Introduction to Sports Psychology, Applied Sports Psychology, and Emotions. And her research interests are geared towards emotions in sports psychology, particularly emotions in groups. Dr. Eccles, Dr. Eklund, and Dr. Wolf are currently accepting PhD students for next year. I am the coordinator of the master's program, and I will generally serve as the advisor for all of our incoming master's students. I think that's all of the information. I'll wrap up by saying kind of what makes our program unique. Not only now, but in the past, our program has always been associated with world-class faculty. I love coming to work every day, reaching to strive for the level of excellence that my colleagues set for our program. As well, we're very unique in the field in that we offer a blend of research and applied experiences. Most programs focus only extensively on one or the other. In our program, you have an opportunity to pursue both, regardless of whether you're a master's or a PhD student. But how much extra coursework experience is typically needed in addition to the MS to achieve CMPC status? Great question. So in our program as a master's student, there are 8 required coursework categories through the Association of Applied Sports Psychology to earn CMPC. 6 of those are sports psychology based, and our program offers all 6 of those. So as a master's student, you could leave our program with all of the 8 courses required for CMPC to complete or be eligible to go up for the exam for CMPC. There are 400 hours of work, however, that are required to complete that requirement. And generally that takes significantly more time after the master's to earn all of those hours. So no student will leave our master's program or any master's program in the country for that matter, likely having earned all the hours they will need to go up for CMPC, but our program does as much as we can possibly do to put you in a good position to be ready to earn CMPC.
Any other questions about our sports psychology program? Feel free to drop them in the chat.
Great, thank you all so much.
Thank you. All right, I think that about does it for our program specific sessions. We've got about 5 more minutes left. If you have any questions about any of our programs, admissions process, funding, anything like that, feel free to drop them in the chat. Okay, Dr. Yang, do you want to answer that question about how many students accepted for the Measurement and Stats PhD program?
Yes, I was planning to put it in the chat box, but I can tell you. Currently, all 4 faculty members except Dr. Betsy Becker are accepting new doctoral students. Dr. Betsy Becker will be retired at the end of this academic year, but the rest of the 4 will accept. Thank you.
Example of sports psychology MS class schedule, 3 classes in the first year, fall and spring, 2 classes in the middle summer. Those classes are available online. They're the only online classes during the entire program. And then in the fall and spring of your second year, generally taking 2 classes. In addition to those classes, if you wish to be engaged in applied work with absent teams in the community, you must be enrolled in 1 credit hour of our field lab internship course, which is an additional 50-minute class once per week. That is not a requirement of the program, only if you wish to be engaged in applied work.
Any other questions? Tanisha or Dr. Hines, would you be able to answer this question about the mental health counseling admissions?
Good morning. For your personal statement, you really should just include the reason why you want to be a part of the program, what your goals are in being included with the program, and how this program is really going to help you get to what you're trying to accomplish. This is the first step in the faculty being able to learn more about you. So don't focus on anything. I would say don't focus so much on things that you've done academically. They really want to know who you are and why this program will be important to you. The only thing I can say that will make you stand out is a well-written statement, making sure that you have more than 1 page, but no less than 1 page, but no more than 3 pages. And making sure that you proofread your statement and that you have stated what you need to say about yourself. This really is just about you. So make it about you.
Well, regarding that, I can add one more. As a faculty member, our M&S program, for example, reviews student materials, student applications, right? So in my case, in a student's statement, if he or she shows really his or her motivation, real motivation, why you pursue this, you want to pursue this, right? And that makes us understand the situation much better. And even if, say, some backgrounds are not sufficient enough, and then if you look at, say, the student's motivation and desire to pursue those things and some preparation potentially, if he or she makes and then suggests some evidence for it, then that is really great. So this is just my sort of the personal side when I read the statement.
Excellent advice. Any other questions before we wrap up? Alrighty. Well, thank you again to everybody who participated and to our faculty and staff as well. We appreciate your time. And like I said, feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. And we look forward to seeing your applications.